I have been using this for a while now, so I figured I would share some thoughts from actually living with it. This is a cordless stick vacuum that can also turn into a handheld vacuum. I see it making the most sense for someone who cleans often and wants something quick to grab for everyday dust, crumbs, pet hair, and the random mess that shows up around the house. If you are in a small apartment, it is convenient. If you are in a bigger place, it works best as the vacuum you reach for most days, with a larger plug-in vacuum still being useful for deep cleaning days. What made it interesting for me is not anything fancy. It is mainly the day-to-day friction it removes. I do not have to unwind a cord, find an outlet, or drag a heavy body behind me. I just pick it up and start. That sounds obvious, but it changes how often I actually vacuum, because the barrier to getting started is low. In person, it looks clean and modern, with a metallic finish that does not scream for attention. It feels solid in the hand, and the connections between parts click in with a reassuring fit. It is not weightless, and you notice the weight more if you are doing above-shoulder cleaning, like corners of ceilings or high shelves. On floors, the balance is fine, and it feels easy to steer. The handle shape works for my grip, and the controls are placed where I can reach them without shifting my hand around. Setup was simple. I put the charging stand where I actually store it, because if I do not store it where I use it, I will not keep it charged. The stand has been reliable for me. I set the vacuum on it after cleaning and it charges while it sits there. That one habit matters more than any spec sheet. When I grab it again, it is usually ready, and I am not thinking about battery management in the middle of cleaning. Daily use is straightforward. I mostly use it in the kitchen and living room, and then I do a quick pass in hallways and bedrooms a couple times a week. The biggest difference I notice compared to older cordless vacuums I have used is how consistent it feels on normal settings. I do not feel like I am pushing a weak vacuum around. It pulls debris in without me having to scrub the same spot over and over. I tested it the way I normally test vacuums, which is basically how messy my house gets. I ran it over rice near the kitchen counter, dry cereal near the couch, and fine dust along baseboards. It handled the bigger crumbs without pinging them across the room. On fine dust, I paid attention to whether it left that faint line of powder behind. On my hard floors, it picked up cleanly in a single slow pass most of the time. If I rushed, I could leave a little behind, but that is true of almost any vacuum. I also tried it on a rug that tends to trap grit. On higher suction, it can grab onto thicker rug edges a bit, which is not a deal breaker, but I had to adjust my approach. I either dialed down the suction or lifted slightly at the edge and then continued. Once I found the right setting, it moved smoothly and did a good job pulling up debris. The ability to change suction is useful in real life because you do not want maximum pull all the time. Sometimes you want enough suction to clean without the head feeling glued to the floor. In my garage, I did a more deliberate test. I sprinkled a small area with a light powder to see if it would pick it up without just pushing it around. It pulled it in quickly and did not leave much behind. The floor looked clean after one careful pass. That tells me the airflow and sealing are doing their job, at least in the way I use it. Battery life has been good for my routine. I can do my main floor cleaning without worrying about it dying. When I do a longer session, like going room to room and also doing stairs, I pay attention to how much time I am spending at higher suction. If I stay at high suction constantly, it drains faster, like any cordless vacuum. For normal cleaning, I do not feel limited. I have cleaned through my 2-story home in one go on a charge by using higher suction only when I needed it, like on rugs or tracked in grit. The handheld mode is something I actually use. I detach the main tube and use it for the stairs, the couch, and the car. For the car, it is strong enough to pull out sand and little stones from the mats, but I still have to take my time in the tight spots. It is not magic. It just saves me from hauling a corded vacuum outside. For furniture, it does well with crumbs and pet hair, especially along seams. Noise is another practical point. It is not silent, but it is not that harsh, high-pitched sound that makes you want to rush. Even on higher suction, it sounds controlled. I can talk over it if I need to, and I do not feel like I am rattling the whole house. Emptying the dust bin is easy enough, but there are a couple of real-life notes. If the bin is packed with fine dust, it can puff a little when you dump it, so I do it over a trash bag and try not to drop it from too high. Cleaning the filters has been simple. I detach them, rinse when needed, and let them dry fully before putting them back. That drying time matters. If you are the kind of person who forgets and needs the vacuum right away, you may want a routine for it, because putting damp filters back in is not a good idea. Now, for limitations, I do have a few. The head can feel a little grabby on certain rugs if you insist on high suction, so you end up adjusting settings or changing your pace. The dust bin capacity is fine for regular home use, but if you are doing a big clean after a project, you will probably empty it more than once. And if you are doing lots of above-floor cleaning, the weight can feel tiring after a while. It is manageable, but it is not feather light. On smart features and app support, I will be honest about how I use it. I prefer a vacuum that works without me thinking about software. The app is not central to my experience, and I do not open it often. For me, the value is mostly in day-to-day usability, not in checking data. If you like keeping tabs on maintenance reminders or status checks, you might appreciate having it. I just want it to charge, run, and be easy to clean, and that is where it has been solid. Overall, this vacuum fits into real life well. I use it more often than I used my corded vacuum because it is faster to start and easier to put away. Suction is strong enough that I trust it for both crumbs and fine dust. The charging stand makes it easy to keep ready. The handheld option is genuinely useful for stairs and the car. It is not perfect, and it does require some small adjustments depending on the surface, but nothing about it has felt fussy or frustrating in my day-to-day use. To learn more about the LG N113 CordZero Cordless Stick Vacuum Cleaner, please check the comments section. Thank you for watching.